So speaking of President Trump, I'm sure you saw this, Matt. He announced this, going into the weekend. We were talking about he had this meeting set up in Geneva with China, even though all of the Democrats were like, he's never going to get it done. He is stunting America. This is going to be terrible for America. And he has already announced a reset, he says, with China based on a major trade deal that, of course, he has been trying. He's the only president who has been trying to undo decades upon decades of not just China, but, other countries basically exploiting our economy. China being the most vicious, exploiting our economy to its own advantage. Here is President Trump with some of that announcement.
In addition, yesterday we achieved a total reset with China. After productive talks in Geneva, both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed after April 2nd to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue on the largest structural issues. And I want to tell you that a couple of things. First of all, that doesn't include the tariffs that are already on, that are our tariffs, and it doesn't include tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, things such as that, or tariffs that may be imposed on pharmaceuticals, because we want to bring the pharmaceutical businesses back to the United States, and they're already starting to come back now based on tariffs.
Obviously, this is something that the stock markets were like, oh, okay, we're really happy about that. Investors were really happy. You saw the stock market surge right after this whole thing was announced. But what was really striking to me, Matt, and I can't wait to get your thoughts here. What was really striking to me was, you have Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who maybe people are asking like, hey, if it's this easy, why couldn't this happen sooner? Why didn't, say, the Biden regime decide that they wanted to help America and they wanted to engage in a reset with China? And this is crazy. He said that the Chinese told him that Joe Biden was too weak to come to the table too. Watch.
What has to happen is it has to be fair for the American people. But in January 2020, President Trump produced a template. We had an excellent trade agreement with China, and the Biden administration chose not to enforce it. The Chinese delegation basically told us that once President Biden came into office, they just ignored their obligations. So, we all already have a large framework. The other thing to remember here, Jonathan, is that this is a pause down to 10%. The April 2nd level for China is 34%. So we will be working to see where their final reciprocal number ends up. And the negotiations are a combination of tariffs, non-tariff trade barriers, currency manipulation, and subsidies of labor and capital.
It really is striking. I've said this before. I don't think that it can be overstated that I never in my adult life, in my life that I could remember, I always heard, you always learn in school how important America and America's stability and America's strength. You always hear about how important that is to the entire globe. And it's like you inherently know it to be true because you're taught it. But you haven't seen it actually play out before your very eyes, the way that we saw it play out between the contrast between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And now you have, as Scott Bessent is saying, he's like, yeah, we talked to China and China just said that they thought that Joe Biden was too weak to even come to the table and try to negotiate with. And it really, really is striking when you see just how detrimental a weak president can be, even if just for 4 freaking years, how detrimental a weak president can be for the entire freaking globe, Matt.
It's quite staggering, isn't it? Because you literally have a walking vegetable. And I mean that he was not compos mentis for the majority of his presidency, if any of it at all. And then what you have is an absolute alpha male coming in and saying, hang on a second, somebody who's not a politician, who wasn't a politician anyway, understands deals and comes in and he's like, okay, this is the way it is. And let me tell you something, Sarah, you know this because you're a business owner. Business owners to business owners, they can respect each other in a tough negotiation. If you are not strong, you are
Yeah.
going to get trampled over. But there is that element of like, okay, I really respect you. Yeah, I really respect you. And look, this is something that is even more prevalent in Asia and actually in the Middle East, that if you are not respected, forget it. Just forget it. You have to be respected. They have very masculine cultures that we have kind of tried to erode in our country. And now Trump is back. People are responding to that. And it's utterly fantastic for the country and, as you said, for the world. Now, I do want to make one other point. I grew up outside of this country looking in. I have seen the systematic dismantle of the United States over the period of time that I was old enough to understand it. So we have to go all the way back to Ronald Reagan, to a period of time when you had a strong leader. George Bush was not a strong leader. He wasn't. And I think now what we're doing is we're seeing this in context, especially with the way you look at what's going on in Texas, what a complete shit show it is here, that now we've finally got a leader, and he is a leader to be mimicked. You are seeing, even if you want to look at what's going on with Keir Starmer, that guy has completely changed his tune over in the UK. It's staggering. It's like he had some kind of a blood transfusion when his team came over to the US. He's saying all the same things as Trump. It's bizarre. But guys, this is a net win for the world. And America needs to be the leaders. And it's amazing to see, certainly for me, to see it returning back to the country that I fell in love with. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is watching just how things can be this, I don't want to say easy. I don't want to make it sound like any of this is easy, but he sure does make it look easy a lot of the time. And it turns out you just need someone with some balls and some backbone to go in there and say, I say what I mean what I say. And if I tell you that we are going to correct this trade imbalance, believe me, when I tell you we are going to correct this trade imbalance, we can do it the easy way or we can do it the hard way. And they believe him, right? It's like when President Trump says that to you, when President Trump says, no, we're going to tariff the hell out of you, I'm taking him seriously if I'm any other country and I've watched how he's operated with, with other countries and his history. I'm like, sir, yes, sir. You just tell me how we can work together on this. So it's been fascinating to watch. What also has been fascinating to watch are all of the Democrats who, of course, they are so anti-American, but like I don't know, good deals for everyone, for the world, I guess, at this point, because if it means Orange Man bad, then that's what it means. And so you've got people like Elizabeth Warren that I want to play one of her greatest hits back in April when she was, warning everyone that this is one of the dumbest trade wars in U.S. history. Good old Liz. Pocahontas. Let's watch her.
Comes in and basically starts the dumbest trade war in the history of this country. This is going to be about potentially millions of people losing their jobs. It's going to be about millions of people losing their savings, many of people losing their retirement security, and at the same time taking on even higher costs for everything they buy. So that's going to push us in potentially to foreclosures or people being pushed out of their apartments. I remember this from 2008 and how long it took us to dig our way out. And to this day, there are families, there are communities that still haven't recovered. Recessions can be all those fancy charts and graphs, but at the end of the day, people feel them one person at a time, and they can be devastating.
Oh, Senator Karen and poor man's Peppermint Patty are really concerned with the average American, right, Matt? They are really, really concerned with the fact that Americans might not be able to make ends meet. And, well, what about higher costs? And what about, that is so hilarious coming from the same people who carried water for Joe Biden and Joe Biden's disastrous policies, getting us into all of the record amounts of inflation, the grocery costs, the gas costs. I mean, some may say it was done completely intentionally. And these lovely women want to sit there and act as if they want to feign any sort of empathy for the average American who had to incur higher costs. Like, spare me, Senator Karen.
Yeah, they're not looking after that. As you said, they don't care about the world or even about America. They just care about the gravy train stopping. And we've seen this with their absolute pearl clutching over Elon Musk and Doge. I mean, that was the first step to exposing them. I'll tell you this, Sarah, this message, if you're looking at that right now, this message is not working. It's not going to work in the next election. You don't even have moderate Democrats going, you know what, this might work. I don't think I've heard anyone say this might work. And by the way, that the same goes for Republicans. I seem to remember 2 people saying that this was a negotiation and tariffs were all about leverage. We said it on the show multiple times. I'm not saying that we are, you know, because people say, well, you're an actor and you're a host. It's common sense. We knew it. We knew that this was going to happen. And may I say this as well? This is a huge deal. Do you remember when Donald Trump first said, I'm tariffing them? And they said, we will never back down. China will never back down. They just back down, guys. Like they just totally back down. And the gracious thing to do in politics is to just move on, right? To just move on, to not face plant them on it. But I got to tell you, I want them to carry on. Pocahontas, carry on. Chuck Schumer, carry on. I mean, the ratio on X today with Chuck Schumer was unbelievable. He somehow looked at what Trump said and said that it was negative. It's over for the Democratic Party if they continue this way. It's that they are done. There are no moderates. It's orange man bad. Everything. And the one senator who we were looking at him go, this guy is a disaster. And then turns out that he comes out with some actual kind of sensible stuff. He's John Fetterman. And he is now the moderate in the Democratic Party. This is insane. They are going to lose every election in the foreseeable future if they continue down this route.
If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you know you do. Click here.